My name's Urian Beek. I'm a country GP in Casino. Casino is an archetypal country town. Over the last 43 years that I've been here, I've delivered about 2,000 babies. In fact, I'm now delivering the babies of babies. Previously, I worked at BHP in Port Kembla, working with air pollution work in collieries, doing airborne dust testing. So I'm sort of familiar with the harmful effects of pollution on people's health. Now, the council wants to introduce a huge incinerator to burn rubbish.
The incinerator industry, which is giant multinational corporations, have got their eyes on Australia and Southeast Asia. And so what happened in New South Wales was, under the previous government, during our flood crisis, we suddenly saw a regulation emerge which named 4 regional areas for waste incinerators in New South Wales. They were Lithgow, Goulburn, Parkes and Casino. We hadn't heard anything about it. There was a very, very minimal online consultation about it, and everybody was very busy with the flood crisis. And the more we delved into it, the more dodgy it looked, frankly.
If you burn 380,000 tonnes of rubbish, you're going to create about 500,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide. In fact, the incinerator is a small version of the Liddell power station that's being closed as we speak. Now, the gases that are given off contain carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulphur. They're all toxic, even hydrochloric acid. Plastics contain polyvinyl chloride, most of it's chlorine, so when you burn chlorine or burn plastics, you create hydrochloric acid. In a moist environment, if it's misty, you get acid rain. But the thing is, if you burn carbonaceous material, you get these carbon compounds called dioxanes and furans. Furans and dioxanes are toxic chemicals that cause chromosomal anomalies, cause birth defects that are irreversible. We know this on the basis of past experience in Europe. So burning this sort of stuff is injurious to your health.
The Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants listed incineration as one of the prime producers of POPs chemicals. And just to explain, POPs chemicals are probably a group of chemicals that are the most toxic that man has ever produced. They're bioaccumulative, they build up in our bodies, in our children, our babies. They're transboundary in the fact that they can move great distances on water and air currents, and they are incredibly persistent. They don't go away, they don't break down easily. Why this is important is because the treaty requires countries who have ratified it, which Australia has done, to do everything they can to reduce the formation and release of POPs chemicals because they're so dangerous. And even since the convention was formed, we've now got work from some of the more modern waste-to-energy facilities in Europe, where we now see that they are emitting what are called PFAS chemicals. Now, they're a big group, many thousands of chemicals in this group, and they're called the forever chemicals. Why? Because they never break down. There is no way of getting rid of them. They cause cancer, they cause immune problems, they cause neurotoxic problems in our children. These are very, very serious chemicals, and we now have evidence that they are being released by modern European waste-to-energy facilities similar to the one that they're proposing to build at our casino.
Here we are on the Summerland Way, about 4 kilometres out of CBD of Casino. Over here on the right is the proposed jobs precinct where the waste incinerator is intended to go. And behind me, over here at farmland, where the trees are, is the Richmond River. That's where the pumping station is for Casino's town water. Up here on the hill, less than 1 kilometre away, is the water treatment works opposite the meat works, and approximately 2 kilometres away, Casino High School, and then down to the CBD.
An incinerator will inevitably produce pollution. The proponents of the incinerator argue that they'll be below levels of concern. But what we know about POPs chemicals is for some of them, there may be no safe level of exposure. So if you have pollution coming out of the stack, you've got pollution in the ash, which is left over from the burning of products, you've got pollution in the leachate, which is what they do when they wash out the pollution control equipment. All of those sources mean those POPs chemicals will go to the environment. And once they're in the environment, they're in air, they're in water, they're in you and I, that's the risk.
The fly ash is very highly toxic and would need to be disposed of to a hazardous waste landfill and be kept secure so that it doesn't contaminate groundwater. And the bottom ash would also need to go through processing in order to stabilise it and its waste before it could end up in a landfill situation. So the ash problem is huge. So basically you're taking waste and turning it into air pollution, a little bit of very dirty energy and a lot of toxic ash.
We cannot afford our population, particularly our vulnerable population, our children, to be exposed to the POPs chemicals any more than they already are. And I stress, they are the worst of the worst.
Those pollutants that are released into the atmosphere are going to move large distances, depending on the geography and the weather patterns, obviously. And so an incinerator in Casino is actually going to impact the entire northern rivers. So we're talking about Byron Bay, Ballina, Lismore, Tweed. We're all going to be impacted by the pollution from a waste incinerator in Casino.